I walked 10,000 steps every single day for an entire year, and then I quit. Here's that story and why I did that. On April 1st, 2024, I decided to start walking 10,000 steps a day. I was super motivated. I wanted to lose weight. I just knew that that was something I could do. And so I just committed. I said, I'm going to be walking 10,000 steps a day. I didn't know when it was going to end. I didn't know how long I was going to do this, but I just committed. And I did it for an entire year. I felt like it was something I could do. It was really easy to track. I knew exactly how many reps I was doing every single day. And it actually was something that I committed to. The craziest thing is it became part of my identity. I was somebody who walked 10,000 steps a day. I took a lot of pride in it. It was something that I spent a lot of time doing. And so it was something that I really wanted to achieve. This process was both easier and harder than I expected. Easier in the fact that I could do it. I actually did it. It was something I was able to do. It took about an hour and a half to walk 10,000 steps a day, so I had to fit that into my day. Some days it was great. I would wake up and walk for an hour on my treadmill. Some days I would miss that completely and then have to be walking at 11:30, 11:45 at night to finish up my 10,000 steps. It was a lot of time that I wasn't expecting. I think it took a lot more time than I thought, and it was a lot more just straight up diligence. I even walked when I was sick. I really, really tried to do this. One of the biggest things that was my motto in my head that I kept repeating to myself was don't miss twice. It's a statement I got from Atomic Habits where basically James Clear was like, if you miss twice in a row, it's really, really hard to come back. So there was not one single day the entire year that I missed hitting 10,000 steps more than once. And you can literally look back at my tracking data on my Apple Watch and on my phone, which I did use as my main tools to track. I use an app called the Steps app, if you're going to ask, and it has a way where you can see where you're at in the day, and I use that every single time. So while I did achieve my goal, one of the biggest things that I learned was that, number one, identity is really the biggest thing that can change your habits. The moment I decided I was done, which was at the 1 year mark, I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I don't have to do this anymore. Completely nosedived. And I started walking, 5,000, 6,000 steps a day. I kind of cut it in half immediately. And then I thought to myself, oh, wow, that's how crazy. I cannot sustain a habit is what I've learned. Is the only way I was able to do that was I had to tell myself every single day that this is what I'm doing and I'm committed. The moment that I stopped being committed to something, that completely nosedived. It truly is an identity shift that you have to tell yourself every day that this is who I am. It's not just going to stay a routine or a habit. You have to actually put work in, and it was a lot harder work than I expected. But the biggest thing that I learned, and probably one of the most disappointing things I learned, was just because I walk 10,000 steps a day does not guarantee immediate weight loss. I was literally doing it for the weight loss. And once I got through it, I was just like, maybe at some point the weight loss will kick in, but it didn't. What's crazy is that I did it the first time I ever started walking consistently. I did lose weight, but I was also changing my food habits. I was doing some, weight training as well. So it all kind of combined together. All I had really done was I was doing the 10,000 steps a day. I wasn't doing really any other exercises. I wasn't really doing cardio. I wasn't doing weights. I was just doing the walking. And while if you're sedentary and you've never walked before, yeah, you probably will lose weight. However, I was a big walker before doing this challenge. I walked at least 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day on average before I started this challenge. So for me, just upping it a little bit more didn't have the effect that I had hoped it would. They've actually done some research studies showing that 10,000 steps is more than you probably need. They said usually about 6,000 to 7,000 is the average a person needs. So I've decided that I'm going to be starting to do a 7,500 steps a day challenge. One, the time element was a lot. It was hard to fit an hour and a half of walking in every day. I cannot really walk on my walking pad and do work. I did a mix of walking on my walking pad, going to an indoor track. I did some outdoor walking. There was a park that I found where I would do laps around. It was actually nice to get outside. I will say outdoor walks are really just getting out in nature is really the benefit that I found as well, is just getting out of the house. It does help your mental health for sure. I will say walking is definitely one of the most beneficial things for my mental health, but I feel like there's other things I can do for my mental health as well. But because I was only doing walking and really nothing else, it didn't really help my weight loss as much as I had expected, which I hear so many stories online of I just started walking and the weight melted off. didn't really work for me. And that was a little disappointing because I was like, wait, I thought that walking was going to be instantly like I was going to lose weight. Didn't really happen. And I started weighing myself every day. And I was like, it really is based off of your food. And I do think the fact that I wasn't doing any weight training also impacted the fact that I wasn't really losing weight. Throughout the year, I also learned a lot about myself. One thing was I learned I had the MTHFR gene, which I've talked about. I went gluten-free in July. I also learned I'm autistic, and I learned that I'm potentially hypermobile, all within the span of a year, all within the span of me walking for a year. So I learned all that information while going on this challenge. And one of the biggest things that I learned from that was with my hypermobility is that actually sometimes too much effort can actually impact me negatively. So I realized, oh my gosh, I shouldn't maybe be pushing myself to walk this much. In fact, running is actually not really good for me at all. So that's another reason why at the year end, after walking for 1 year, 10,000 steps a day, I decided to make the change to not continue this challenge. Again, a couple of reasons. One, I didn't want to over push myself. Number two, I wasn't seeing the results that I had hoped for. I wanted to switch it up and still do walking, but not as much, and mix in more weights. And I just didn't have the time to do 10,000 steps a day plus weights, plus stretching, plus all the other things I'm going to start adding into my workouts because I am now working again, trying to lose weight again. Because I tried by walking, but it just hasn't really worked for me. So I know in the past that I found weight training to actually be the better weight loss for me. And I guess I just was like mentally not really putting two and two together and just being like, no, I'm going to walk. I'm just going to do a walk. I also wanted to mention another reason why I'm stopping it. And that is because of this book. I've been reading this book. It's called Tiny Experiments: How to Live Freely in a Goal-Obsessed World. The biggest thing I've learned from this book, which I highly recommend reading, if you're neurodivergent, this is a really, 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 really good book to read. It really is awesome and I love it. One of the things she talks about in this book is the idea of creating pacts instead of goals. So what's the difference? So I want to read to you a part of this page that I think is very helpful to understand. A pact is a simple and repeatable activity that will inevitably bring you closer to achieving your authentic ambitions, regardless of the actual result of each trial. It follows a simple format. I will action for duration. The pact is a fundamental building block of personal experimentation, a self-invitation to try something new and learn from the experience. It's a call to escape inertia and live in forward motion. What makes a pact so effective is that it focuses on your outputs, e.g. publish 25 newsletters over the next 25 weeks, rather than the outcomes, e.g. get 5,000 newsletter subscribers in 25 weeks. It gives you the confidence to get started because there's no bad result or wrong choice. You just need to show up. So what I was doing without realizing it was I was making a pact to do the 10,000 steps a day. However, part of this book, and one of the other things she talks about is at the end of that pact is when you reflect and figure out what worked, what didn't. For me, what I realized is that it wasn't actually getting me closer to my goal of my weight loss journey. It was just a number on the scale. It was a number of steps that I walked. And it was something where I'm like, if I actually want to lose weight, I have to mix in other things. And to me, doing that plus doing 10,000 steps a day just wasn't feasible. And it could have been potentially doing too much for my body based on of my hypermobility. And there were days where I was just really sore. And so I am now learning to do 70% of what I should be doing. So my goal now is 7,000 to 7,500 steps a day, which is more attainable in my opinion than I think for me, the last 2,500 steps was always the hardest. It was always getting there. It's like once I got to 7,500, I'm like, oh, now I got to do another 2,500. I think for me, I don't know why, but that was just always an uphill battle. So if I can get to 7,500 a day and do more weight loss things like weight training and really focusing on my diet, I really think I'm going to hit my weight loss goals more than just the 10,000 steps a day. And so for me, I'm making that change. I did the experiment. I walked for 10,000 steps a day for an entire year, you guys. I can't even tell you, it was an entire year. I did it. I was so proud of myself. However, the moment I decided to stop and the identity shifted, again, completely nosedived and it just completely went away. So what I realized is I do not establish habits. It's all about identity transformation and all about commitment. But the moment you're like, I don't need to do that, it will go away. Trust me. I do. I would be sitting in my bed at 9 p.m. and be like, I don't want to walk. And I didn't. There were times during that month where I don't want to walk, but I still pushed myself to do it. And so I think for me, this book has been really, really beneficial to helping me feel less guilty about the fact that I'm quitting this challenge and more of, hey, this was an experiment. And what I learned was that it may not be the most beneficial for me and that I should figure out what I actually want to do instead. So for me, I'm going to be switching to 7,500 steps a day, and I'm going to be adding in some more weight training. I actually am using ChatGPT to help me plan out a workout routine, using things like my recumbent bike and doing other like TV workouts and doing some stretching, because what I found is that I actually probably would benefit more from those than just straight up walking. Anyways, I hope that this video was interesting to you guys. If you have maybe done a challenge like this, highly recommend, again, getting this book because it's very, very helpful, especially for the neurodivergent people that follow me. If you walk 10,000 steps a day, I'd love to know your experience, or if you don't walk at all. I do think walking is a really, really, really good thing to do. It's really great, again, for your mental health. It's great for a lot of things. But for me, the 10,000 was just a little too much for me to attempt and get every single day. And I'm going to be trying some other things. So for me, it was a success, but also I needed to change and move on to something else. Anyways, I hope that this was helpful. If you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe below. Also join my Substack. I send out weekly emails with updates. I also share a new either podcast or YouTube video every time. So I hope that you guys check that out. Hope you guys are having an amazing spring. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.